For as long as most of us can remember, American technology has been the undisputed king of global innovation. But in the huge, high-stakes chip war with China, something has shifted, and a quiet winner has emerged in a way almost nobody saw coming. This is the one question that is now sending shockwaves through, well, everything. From the phone in your hand to the massive data centers that power the internet. And you know what? It's not some far-off hypothetical. It's a brand new reality that's happening right now, just under the surface of the headlines. And that's the absolute kicker right there. This isn't something that's going to happen. It's already happened. China has basically broken the technological dependency that gave the United States this incredible leverage for decades. The old belief that China could never, ever stand on its own 2 feet in advanced tech, yeah, that idea is collapsing fast.
So, how on earth did this happen? It's a fascinating story of how a massive nationwide mobilization turned the very weapon of American power into the fuel for its rivals' independence.
Okay, first, let's rewind a bit to understand the old world order. For a very long time, America sat at the absolute peak of the technology world. It didn't just innovate for itself, it literally controlled the essential tools of innovation for pretty much everyone else. This power was built on this incredible, multi-layered system. You had the most advanced chip designs, the software that ran the world like iOS and Android, and then the super specialized manufacturing equipment that almost no one else on the planet could make. And all of that was protected by tight export controls and a powerful patent system. It was a fortress. And China, they were right in the middle of it. Their factories, their first smartphones, their telecom gear, it was all deeply tied to Western tech. This created a huge vulnerability, and you can bet China's leadership knew it. They understood this was a strategic weakness they absolutely had to change. And this brings us to the big turning point. The moment Washington decided to really use this leverage to slow China down, well, it set off a completely unexpected and incredibly powerful reaction. The very sanctions that were meant to contain China actually became the rocket fuel for its push to become independent. And make no mistake, the pressure was systematic. It kept ramping up. It started by targeting big names like Huawei, then it got tighter, hitting any chips made with any US technology. And finally, it became these sweeping bans on the most advanced AI chips, and even the machinery you need to make them. The goal couldn't have been clearer. Cut off China's access to the core tools of modern technology. The idea was to basically freeze their progress, making sure they'd fall years and years behind. But that is not what happened. Not at all. Instead of hitting the brakes, China slammed the accelerator. We're talking about one of the largest technology mobilizations in modern history. Billions upon billions poured into research. Entire provinces were converted into specialized tech zones. Companies were ordered to rip and replace foreign technology at every single level. This was a complete, top-to-bottom re-engineering of their entire tech industry. And this massive, all-out effort, which happened mostly behind the scenes, began to produce real, honest-to-goodness breakthroughs. Huawei is the perfect symbol for this whole story. The expectation was simple: cut them off from advanced chips, and the company would just fade away. But the reality? They launched brand new, powerful processors that proved they could innovate even without access to the world's most advanced foreign tech. It shocked everybody. And this number says it all: 7 nanometers. This is a manufacturing milestone that so many experts believed was impossible for China to reach for years, especially under such heavy restrictions. For them to produce these chips at home, well, that signaled a massive shift in the game. And look, this wasn't just about one chip or one phone. This was about creating a complete, parallel universe of technology. All of a sudden, Chinese AI models were training on local processors. Their data centers were getting upgraded with homegrown hardware. An entire ecosystem was sprouting up to support everything from their own smartphones to their booming electric vehicle industry. This new level of self-sufficiency didn't just change things inside China's borders. It has started to completely reshape the global tech landscape, creating a whole new dynamic for everyone. So what does that actually look like? Well, it means that all across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, countries that used to depend solely on American technology are now turning to Chinese alternatives. They're adopting Chinese 5G, they're building data centers with Chinese hardware, and they're moving to Chinese cloud platforms. They now have a choice.
And what that really means is that America's long-standing tech weapon, its ability to influence other nations through tech control, is just becoming less and less effective. I mean, when countries can just switch to another perfectly good option, the threat of being cut off, it loses its sting.
The result is that we're heading toward a split technological world. We're seeing one side forming around American systems and its allies, and a whole other side being built around China's growing ecosystem. It's like two parallel tracks are being laid, with totally different technologies, different partners, and different rules for the road. So, at the end of the day, this is the new reality. Now, China doesn't surpass the US in every single category, not by a long shot. But it's no longer vulnerable in the way that it was for so many years. The whole dynamic has fundamentally shifted from one of American leverage over Chinese dependency to one of straight-up, head-to-head competition. And this quote just nails the new strategic thinking perfectly. By building a system that could survive being cut off from the outside world, China regained a massive amount of control over its own future. And that leaves us with the defining question for the next decade, doesn't it? As these two tech giants move forward on their own parallel tracks, the real race is on to see whose systems, whose standards, and whose vision is going to lead the next era of global innovation. The balance of power for a generation. It's being decided right now. Okay, so you've definitely seen the names, right? On your phone, on the road, all over the news. This sudden, massive wave of Chinese technology. It feels like it's happening everywhere, all at once. So today, we're going to break down the story behind this tech explosion. For a lot of us, it might have started with a name like DeepSeek. It felt like all of a sudden this Chinese AI chatbot just appeared, taking the tech world completely by storm and challenging the big US players right out of the gate. But here's the thing. DeepSeek, that's not some random one-off success. Nope, it's actually just the tip of the iceberg of a much bigger trend, a wave of Chinese apps and tech that's making its presence felt all over the world. I mean, the names are becoming household brands. You've got TikTok, which, well, everyone knows TikTok. Then there's the e-commerce giant Temu, which is completely changing how we shop. But it goes way beyond our phones. We're talking BYD electric vehicles on our roads and DJI drones that basically own the skies. This wave is hitting literally every single sector. So yeah, this is way bigger than just a few popular apps. What we're really looking at is a massive, fundamental shift in who runs the tech world. And it's all backed by some numbers that are, well, they're kind of mind-blowing. I mean, the sheer scale of China's control in some of these key industries is just staggering. Take solar panels. The country is responsible for 80 to 95% of the entire global supply chain. Let that sink in. That's not just leading, that's a near total grip on an industry that is absolutely critical for our future. And it's the exact same story when you look at our roads. For decades, right, the car world was all about the US, Japan, and Germany. Well, not anymore. China now sells more cars than any other country, and that surge is being powered by electric car makers like BYD and its dominance as the world's biggest battery maker. You see the connection? And this ambition, it's everywhere. Drones? There's a 70% chance the one flying over your head is a DJI from Shenzhen. Quantum computing? Chinese scientists are publishing more research than anyone else. And in AI, they're now filing more patents than any other country on Earth. It is across the board. Okay, so how? How did all of this happen so comprehensively and so fast? Was this just some lucky break, or was there something else going on? Well, as it turns out, this was all part of the plan. And the answer, the blueprint for all of this, goes back to a super ambitious government strategy that kicked off almost a decade ago. It was a master plan for a total tech transformation. It was called, pretty straightforwardly, Made in China 2025. And the goal? It was simple, but absolutely massive. To shift the country away from just being the world's factory for cheap stuff, and to become a self-sufficient, high-tech leader that designed and built its own cutting-edge technology. So, did it work? Oh, you have no idea. According to one analysis, a jaw-dropping 86% of the plan's more than 250 different goals have already been ticked off. And some of those targets, especially in things like electric vehicles and renewables, they weren't just met, they were completely blown out of the water. So how'd they pull it off? Well, it was a multi-part strategy. First, you have the government pouring in massive amounts of state funding. Then, they went out and aggressively recruited foreign talent and tech.
They also often required Western companies to partner up with local firms, which, ensures that knowledge gets transferred. And finally, they built these enormous tech hubs, each one dedicated to a specific industry.
And the money behind this, it's just staggering. According to U.S. Congress research, the Chinese government was planning to spend or raise something like $1.5 trillion US dollars on R&D, grants, and buying up foreign companies to fuel this ambition. This wasn't some side project, this was a full-blown national mission.
Okay, but when you make moves that big, that fast, and with that much government money, you are gonna get noticed. It did not go unnoticed by global rivals, and it triggered a pretty powerful direct response. In fact, the Made in China 2025 plan was so successful and so loud about its ambitions that the government eventually just stopped using the name. It was basically spooking its rivals. But it was too late. The West saw this tech explosion as a strategic threat, and they started hitting back with serious restrictions and sanctions on key technologies. And if you want a perfect case study, just look at Huawei. Back in 2019, they were a world leader in 5G and in smartphones. Then, citing national security concerns, the US led a wave of sanctions that completely cut the company off from the global microchips it needed. And the result? Their market share just plummeted. The pushback was real, and it was designed to hit where it hurts. But here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because faced with this massive external pressure, China's tech industry didn't just collapse. It adapted in a way that pretty much no one saw coming. There's this powerful saying that really captures what happened next. Life always finds its own way out. And that's exactly it. Instead of stopping progress, the sanctions actually forced a brand new strategy: radical self-sufficiency and innovation born from pressure. Let's go back to Huawei. They're cut off from the world's chips, so what do? They pivot and become a chip manufacturer themselves. And then, in 2023, they drop a bombshell, a new smartphone with an advanced microchip that analysts thought was literally impossible for them to make under those heavy sanctions. Just wow. And we're seeing this pattern play out elsewhere. Remember DeepSeek, where we started? They couldn't get their hands on the most powerful AI training chips, so they just invented new techniques to build a world-class model using older, less powerful hardware. And guess what? It was cheaper, and it worked. The constraint actually became the catalyst for a breakthrough. So you take the plan, you add the pushback, and you mix in this incredible, surprising adaptation, and it all brings us to right now, to the starting line of a new global race for technological supremacy. And the strategies are becoming crystal clear. China's goal, now forged in the fire of sanctions, is to achieve complete and total technological independence. On the other side, the US goal is to stay ahead by pouring hundreds of billions of dollars back into its own key industries, especially chips and AI. And when I say pouring money in, I mean it. Earlier this year, US tech giants announced a potential commitment to invest $500 billion into AI infrastructure. This isn't just business as usual. This is a direct, strategic countermove in this brand new tech race. So let's be clear, a new high-tech superpower has officially arrived on the scene. They've got deep pockets, a long-term vision, and they've proven they can innovate under incredible pressure. A new tech superpower is here. And the only question that really matters now is, what happens next?